views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. One of tonight's guests is a champion. He held world championships in 3 weight classes, including the WBC middleweight title, the IBF super middleweight title, and the WBA light heavyweight title. But then things for Iran Barkley began to change. Ultimately, he was left homeless. There are 4 so-called kings in boxing. You can number them: Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Thomas the Hitman Hearns. But there's a new documentary that claims there really are 5 kings in boxing, and that the Bronx's Iran Barkley is the 5th king. And it appears that the people of the Bronx think he is just that, because just last week it was announced that the Blade, as Barkley is known, is going to be one of the Bronx Walk of Famers immortalized forever on the Grand Concourse. Tonight, the 5th king joins us, and good evening to Iran Barkley. Nice to have you with us. And he's here along with the producer of the documentary, The 5th King, Carl June. Nice to have you with us.
Nice to have you.
Champ, let's start with you. Just talk to me about what it's like to be a champion and then all of a sudden be, as the documentary shows, sleeping on the number 6 train.
I mean, let me tell you, first of all, I mean, God's been good to me. But even though I went through the things I went through, I still bounced back. You know what I'm saying? I look at things like that, being a champion and everything, and standing up to people and fighting my way to the top, you know, and not getting what I really supposed to have, because there's 4 other guys ahead of me. You know, you had Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Roberto Duran. So I got to fight 2 of the guys. And, you know, Duran was a tough fight, and it was a hard road to climb, but it gave me great respect. And it was a great thing. I fought Tommy, which was even more better, you know.
And that's when you won the championship.
That's when I won the light heavyweight championship.
That's right.
Where nobody thought I wasn't going to beat him.
So does it bother you that it is a documentary that had to name you the 5th king? Does that bother you? Or at this point you look back and you say, you know what, that's fine?
No, it don't bother me, because when you say the 5th king, I chose that for myself. You know what I'm saying? I know that I was the 5th king. You know what I'm saying? And Aaron wouldn't recognize that for me. So I said, you know, there's no problem.
Do you think you were talking about what it takes to bounce back and to live the life that you've led? Do you think the nature of being a boxer helps you through that? Because, I mean, you're fighting. I mean, as opposed to pitching a baseball or hitting a tennis ball, you really got to fight. Do you think that helps you in life and helps you rebound from something as difficult as what you went through?
Oh, definitely. I mean, because I came from the bottom and went to the top and came back down to the in-between. You know what I'm saying? And still fighting the battle to come ahead.
Right now, you feel, we were talking before the show, and you feel good. You're doing okay. You live in the hybrid section of the Bronx, and you started out with a very optimistic outlook. So nobody should feel bad for Iran Barkley. Is that what I feel bad?
Nah, you shouldn't feel bad for me. You should feel happy. You know what I'm saying? Because Iran Barkley is still here. He's alive. He's well. He's happy. he put everything behind him and got himself together.
And the last thing before we bring your documentary producer in, it must be about the greatest honor you could have to be a Bronx guy, to grow up in the Bronx, to be a champion in the Bronx, to still live in the Bronx, and then to know that you're going to be honored by the Bronx and the Bronx Walk of Fame.
I mean, that's a lifetime dream come true. You know, I said one day, I used to tell my best friend, I say, I'm gonna own this corner right here. I'm gonna be here, my name gonna be up there, and like, you know, as kids, guys go, you crazy, you know what I'm saying? Well, the craziest thing now, we all grown, we all older, and they said, you know something, Iran? You remember when you said you was gonna have your name up on the street?
Yeah.
Now,
Boom.
you know?
Tremendous. It's great, and you know, there's a lot to be said about it. There are a lot of lessons, and I guess that brings us right into the documentary. Carl, you were a filmmaker, a documentary maker. What was it about Iran's story that was so compelling? Or did he already just tell us what was so compelling about it?
His story was growing up, my mother was into boxing. So I knew about the Sugar Ray, and I knew about Iran Barkley, how he was a hard-hitting boxer. So at that time, myself and my partner, Lewis, friend called us and said, I know Iran Barkley, and I know y'all doing filmmakers. So let me introduce y'all and see where we could go from there. So at that point, I remember the first day I spoke to Iran on the phone where he was like, meet me where he used to live, the Patterson houses. So at that time, I remember I had a torn Achilles. My partner, Lewis, he burned his arm in an accident. So we hopped and went out there.
I was going to say, sitting next to the guy you're sitting next to, I'll say in clean language, that stuff don't fly.
Right.
You know, in the Bronx. Okay, good, but we got work to do,
That's
right?
So we went out there, and he told us, he said maybe about 6 or 7 different crews attempt to do a documentary on him. So he's going to give us a try. And myself and my partner, Lewis, you know, we said this is a great opportunity, so we really going to tell the story. So with all the research and everything we did, and just me and Iran became a friend, then more than just a person doing a documentary. All the people we interviewed, over 30 different people, tell us about his compelling story, where it's all documented in a documentary, a different side of him.
Mm-hmm. I guess knowing somebody that intimately and that well as a friend, it either helps or hurts your ability to make a documentary. It helps because obviously you're very close to the subject, but it can hurt because you always want a little distance to be able to tell it properly.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
And that's true too. It's definitely, you want to tell it from a biased way. You want to have the good, the bad about it. And I know the part where the homelessness is going to be very touchy, but at the end of the story, to get a complete story, we spoke to over 30 different people just to get down to the bottom line. And we told Iran was like, you know what, we grew to know you as a friend, but we want to get a complete story so when somebody sees this documentary, they can understand why we named it The Fifth King, where you pretty much royalty, even on the boxing and also in general, his generosity through the Bronx.
And let it tell its own story.
Exactly.
You know, the first thing I want to do, because we have a video, we're going to show the trailer of the documentary and all that kind of stuff. I want to show that moment in 1988 when you took care of business against Tommy Hearns. We're going to show a little clip of that. Take us back to that night, to that fight. Give us what was in your mind, and especially as you saw him go down for that second time.
Oh man, the time that I did that, you know what I'm saying? When I took that part to him and seeing him actually going down and me hitting him with that punch, I said, wow, I'm finally here now. You know what I'm saying? I arrived.
Let's take a look. Okay, we got the clip. We're gonna watch it by the blessings of YouTube. This is back to 1988. That's Las Vegas, Nevada, right?
That's right.
That's right. I ran the blade, took care of Tommy Hearns. Let's take a look.
Hearns continues to go to the body with a left uppercut. By Barkley, and Hearns is down. A lunging right.
Seems to me it was a long count. I don't know.
Can he survive the third round? Wow. Richard Steele in. Hearns goes through the ropes.
What a turnaround!
It's over. Barkley has upset Thomas Hearns here in the third round.
Well, you were a much younger man at that time, but I got to tell you, as soon as he saw that, even if he wants to be cool, he couldn't be cool there. You're a younger man, healthy, and you saw, and literally what he said before about having his name up on the Grand Concourse, we saw it right there. A dream come true, right? Yes. You worked hard to get there.
I worked hard to get there.
Tell me a little bit about what happened that ultimately led to your not having a home, and literally the guy who did that sleeping on the subway.
Well, you know something? My mother had an apartment in Patterson Projects. My niece had she was on the lease. She took over the lease because my mother, I was making too much money to be, staying on the lease. So I was just there, you know what I'm saying? But at the time, it was coming to the hard time, you know what I'm saying? So I said, well, let me stay and crash
This
here.
is the late 90s after you had won your,
right.
or mid-90s or late 90s?
Mid-80s.
Mid-80s, all
you know, and I said, well, let me crash here, I got a place to do and everything. So I wasn't worried about it. So, everything happened. She came in, boom, said I had to leave. I said, no problem. I said, but give me some time. Let me get some things together and get it. No, you got to go right now. So I said, well,
That's
I said, she's the boss. It's her place. But I said, okay, apartment I grew up in, I said, I'm now getting kicked out. So
and you didn't have the resources or the know-how or whatever to take care of yourself?
I didn't have the resources I had. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I had the resources, but I just...
You didn't have control over
I
it?
didn't have control over it, you know what I'm saying? So I said, well, you know what I'm saying? I said, I'm starting here now. What am I gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I just come fresh out of boxing. I gotta find myself again,
And how long before you feel like you resurrected yourself or got yourself stable? I mean, we talking 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
It was like 4 or 5 years.
Did you learn anything doing that?
Yeah, I learned don't get kicked out. Make sure you got an extra place to go to.
Carl, there's a complexity here that is both challenging and probably enjoyable for a producer to tell. Talk to me a little bit about how you see it, and then we're going to show the trailer so people will know where it's at.
Yes, during the time of actually myself and my partner Lewis started the documentary, he was going through certain different elements in his life, so that was also challenging. And like
he meaning Iran?
Iran and everything. Okay. Where just making sure housing is secure, certain things that just general life things. So in the aspect of that, myself and Lou was coming from Staten Island to the Bronx to get footage, to interview different people and everything. So it was very challenging, but at the end of the day, we told Iran that we're gonna get this done completely, because when he told us that 6 or 7 filmmakers couldn't do the story, we're gonna get the story done.
All right, we're gonna show the trailer. You happy with it?
I'm happy with it, I'm happy with it, and that's the good thing.
I got a little hedge there, but that's okay.
I'm happy. Okay. I mean, I'm happy with it. I'll be happier when somebody pick it up.
All right, we're going to talk about that after we take a look. All right, here we are. Here it is, The Fifth King, Iran the Blade Barkley, produced by Carl June.
Yeah, champ. Don't give up. You could do it.
People would ask why you run so much. What are you running from? It wasn't what I was running from. It was what I was running to.
Life after boxing was rough.
It was like, he went from something to nothing.
My niece was like the leaseholder, and then we had got into like a little argument.
Yo.
Yeah.
See who that is over there?
Who's that?
That's Iran to Blade Barkley. Barkley, beat Tommy Hearns.
Get out! I want you out of the house now!
Looking bad, man.
Pack your bags
You in a
and
train
leave.
sleeping with him.
Yeah, champ. Don't give up. You can do it. Yeah, champ. Yeah, champ.
I should have money. Now I'll be homeless. All this work for nothing. I should be the 15th.
So he started sleeping on a train without us knowing.
He was homeless, and I never knew that he would go sleep on the subway.
Him and Acker would have been a good fight because that's his style.
Ray Leonard, for whatever reason, wouldn't fight. I ran.
I'm the fifth king that nobody talks about.
Wow, very, very powerful. Just looking at what it takes to do something like that, it's not like, because today, of course, there's cameras everywhere. It's not like there was footage of him sleeping on the train. I mean, in 1988, you didn't pull out your cell phone and say, oh, here's Iran Barkley. So that must be a challenge to kind of mix whatever archival stuff you could have and bring it up to date. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, what we did was actually, if you see the trailer, the guy on the train, that's actually my partner, Lewis, and the guy who's running, that's myself. So as independent filmmakers.
Oh, you gave it away.
Well, we take all week, all the resources independent and bring a story together using archive and mixing it up and everything. So the end product was we wanted to get a trailer that actually, when you look at it, like, wow, I want to see this documentary.
Well, certainly that is the purpose of a trailer. In terms of trying to tell the story, how difficult the story is it to tell, or is it, from riches to rags to riches? I mean, it's kind of a logical path.
Well, the story is basically we wanted to start from the beginning, where his parents, also at that time, growing up in the South Bronx, you had the largest gang in New York City, the Black Spades. So that was a part of the elements. Also, growing up, Iran Barkley's sister, Yvonne Barkley, was the person who got him to the gym. She was a great boxer during that time. So a lot of stuff people don't know about it. She was the one like, listen, I'm tired of you getting picked on. You better start learning how to fight and everything.
When you get somebody who turns out to be a champion in boxing or just about anything, there's always people along the way, like your sister, who kind of pushed you or helped you. Your sister would be one. I mean, you want to talk a little bit about it's not only the tough streets that motivated you and got you where you are, but talk about some of the people in your life that helped you get to where you are.
Well, my sister, and I had my sister and four cousins that we all went to the gym. My cousin said, "Come on, bring them to the gym." My sister said, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take up boxing to make them stay in the gym."
Wow.
And bring them along, because I didn't like to fight.
I was going to ask you, do you like to fight from the beginning, or you had a...
No, I didn't like to fight. You know what I'm saying? I was like, fighting. I wouldn't fight unless somebody did something to me or my mother.
Right.
But my sister brung that fight out of me.
And where'd you go in the gym in the Bronx? I think people would...
St. Mary's and St. Anne's Avenue.
And St. Mary's and St. Anne's Avenue.
Yeah, in the Bronx.
Good coaches down there?
Oh yeah, I had a great coach, Davey Vasquez, and my cousins, Tony Bruce, Promise, Tim, and my sister Yvonne. She was the only female.
You still talk to, who was it, your niece who threw?
Oh yeah, I talked to her.
All over by now.
It's family, it's family. I kind of like respect it. I mean, that was the apartment I grew up in, but she was the leaseholder now. So
just back to the documentary. Talk about where it's at. It gets awards. People who see it are going to say, "Hey, wait a minute! I certainly can't wait to see it." When can we see it? Where is it being shown? When is it going to be shown? What is the status?
Well, right now we have great news because we actually in the mix of actually getting it on a network where I mean, it's looking good. We're from all the network, from Hulu to network, all the different streamlined platforms. But we're in the process of now actually looking to finalize a deal.
Wow,
So,
that's
yeah. So it's been a long journey, but soon the world will be able to see this documentary.
You know what is fascinating about the whole thing is the timing of it. That
Yes.
you come out now, and then it was almost as like you put it together, which is actually, as you know, I was aware of the documentary and said, "Oh, let's have Iran Barkley on the show," and then next thing we know is Iran is so it all kind of comes together.
Exactly, it comes together great at this time.
I guess it's also reinforcing because for you it kind of confirms, you know what, I was right about choosing from a purely documentary point of view. I was right for choosing this as a documentary.
Yes, and it's even just meeting him, like
you
know, he's a. I mean, you look at the footage. He's a killer hitter, the blade, but he's a nice person, a very nice person, generous. And through the documentary, you're going to see over the 30 people we interview that what he did to the community.
Talk to me about why you do the things that Carl is talking about.
Well, I did them because...
And let's be specific about what kinds of things, too.
Okay. I did them because I grew up in a neighborhood that, you know, people came and played basketball. It was gang related, and I was kind of like tired of it. I was a gang member, and I was a former gang member, and I seen these guys, you know, doing this, doing that, and I said, we can't play in the park no more because it's gangs, you know. So we kind of changed that. The gang that I had, we cleaned out the park, we took care of the neighborhood, and we was like, now this is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So
the commitment was to do the right thing.
Yeah, to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Instead of tearing our neighborhood down, I said, let's build it up.
Mm-hmm. People would want to know who you are now, what you do. I mean, aside from making a documentary and you know, getting your name on the Walk of Fame. But what kinds of things, what do you do? What do you like? You still box?
Well, I'm still in the gym. I train people in the gym, in Gleason's gym.
Gleason's gym.
Gleason's gym in Brooklyn. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a good advisor for kids, you know, that need help and stuff with boxing and fighting and stuff.
You know, I hate to bring this up, your Wikipedia page says at the bottom that at the age of 51, he's considering getting back into the ring. Now, how old are you now? Oh,
I just had a birthday.
All right, he just had a birthday.
May 9th.
So do you have? Oh, really? Happy birthday! You really
yeah.
did just have a birthday.
Yeah.
Do you miss it? Do you ever say to yourself, you know what, I could go a couple of rounds with some older guys, or it's not?
You know something? I'm in great shape. I'm healthy.
You can say that all you want.
And I want to beat up Deontay Wilder.
Say that again.
I want to beat up Deontay Wilder.
Oh, there you go.
You know, so that'll prove my point right there.
If
he knocks me out, then I say I quit.
I was going to say, it's like you never want to say I don't want to do it anymore, right? Because you love it so much.
I love it, you know what I'm saying? But there is a point in my life that I say I don't want to do it no more. You know what I'm saying? I have made mistakes in this game when I was coming up. My life was in other people's hands. You know, like my life was in the promoter's hand. You know, I had a couple of managers that did some crazy stuff. So, you know, I just...
just to be brutally honest, it's interesting that you say that, because when you were talking about how kind of what led you to be out on the streets, I was saying you weren't in a position to take care of it yourself, and you've just pretty much acknowledged that you had other people doing it, and maybe they didn't always have your best interests in mind.
Right.
Fascinating. So what's next? How can we people tune in to where you're at and how they can find out about it?
Well, they got actually, we have our Carl Lou Production website, but also social media, Carl Lou Production, Instagram and Facebook.
C-A-R-L-U.
Yes, C-A-R-L-L-U.
L-L-U,
yes.
Excuse me, okay.
Yes, and all the information, just in general, what's going on and everything. And hopefully pretty soon we have some great news to share. with the world.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we'll do it right here on
That'd be
on
great.
Bronxnet.
Yeah.
And for you, champ, it's going to be unbelievably exciting to number one have pull the string and have your name show up on the Grand Concourse, and then riding down an open air convertible for the parade. That's good.
Yeah, that's
pretty
gonna be
exciting.
good. That's really exciting. You know, that's gonna be a good thing, and I could do it right here in the Bronx.
There you go. You know, one of the things that I've said for a long time about the Walk of Fame, almost all the people, maybe all the people other than you who are in that Walk of Fame had to leave the Bronx in order to get there because they went to Hollywood or they were book writers or whatever it was, and they may have. But you've stayed in the Bronx. You said you live in essence, the same place that you grew up in.
Yeah, you know, that's true. You know, yeah. I mean, this is home. I mean, Bronx is home. I'm a true Bronx Knight. You know what I'm saying?
True Bronx champion.
That's it. That's it, boy.
Iran Barkley, good luck in
Thank you.
everything that you do. Thank you
you.
for joining us tonight and opening up your heart a little bit. But we see gold in that heart, in the champ's heart. The champ, he fights hard, but he plays nice. That's good.
That's right. The champ is here.
And the champ, that's the first thing I said to you when I saw you. I said, the champ is here. But Carl, congratulations on the documentary. We'll all look forward to it. I know there's people who watched it tonight and said, goodness gracious, I can't wait to see that thing. So we hope it happens soon.
Thank you.
Folks, if you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, you want to reach out to these guys, then send us an email at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org. You can send a tweet at BronxTalk or post them on our Facebook page. Now, next week, a totally different show. Councilmember Richie Torres will join us, and then the week after, we will have a show on whether it's possible to develop in the Bronx in a way that people who live here get the benefit. So that'll be in 2 weeks from tonight. Thanks to our producer, Helen Greenberg. He's laughing. I know he gets it. Our producer is Helen Greenberg. Our directors are William Guzman and Nick Marrero. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Stay there.